When your family is sick, you want all the information you can get, and as quickly as you can get it. That's why we created Tytohome, an innovative device that connects you with a physician anytime, anywhere, even from home. To connect to the service, you'll need the Tyto app on your smartphone for a real-time video conference, and the Tyto device to conduct the remote exam. The device has an easy-to-use touchscreen that guides you through the examination process. You can conduct exams on the heart, lungs, ears, throat, skin, and body temperature. Let's see how it works. Emily has a cough, earache, and a fever. Her mother, Linda, requests a live examination with a physician. The physician can see and speak with Linda and Emily to guide them through the specific exams he'd like to perform. In this case, he examines her ears, throat, and lungs. Results appear instantly on the physician's screen so that he can listen to and see the exam results in real time. Having diagnosed an ear infection, the physician digitally submits Emily's prescription to the pharmacy for pickup. He can also send over a referral for a specialist, as well as keep the test results in Emily's records for future reference. This remote exam saves Emily from a late-night visit to the ER and gives her mother peace of mind that she received the right diagnosis and treatment, all from the comfort of home. Tytocare, your on-demand medical exam.
Tyto started about 7 years ago, really with a mission to take the primary care interaction A to Z, 360 approach, and making it fully on demand and from home. It started with my youngest kid, Shahar. Back then, she was 4 and a half, and the ritual of going to the clinic with her for throat infections and ear infection in the first year in the kindergarten was just a nightmare for me. So this is how it all began. And what really makes us different is that we are really a holistic clinical solution that takes this interaction as a whole and replicate it to the home. So not only a video chat like we are having now, not only a phone call like most of the telehealth in the market today, mostly in the US, but we are taking it to the next level of really having a full physical exam, collecting information about the patient, real clinical data gathered by the consumer themselves to allow a clinician a much more robust diagnosis and service. So we can do many more types of situation, answer more types of situation, clinical situation, as well as more types of patients.
That all makes absolute perfect sense. I mean, I'm a father of young children, and fevers spike up out of nowhere, and you wonder if you've got to run to the doctor or if it's not something very serious. And you always want to have that option of being able to communicate with the doctor, but telling symptoms over the phone, not the easiest thing to do in the world. And for those of us that have actually done teledoc visits with just an iPad and a camera, also not the easiest thing to do in the world. So this seems to be a lot different than that. And there are a bunch of different pieces that go with the Tytohome device. How proficient does the user have to be able to use your devices?
Sure. So Tyto was built from the ground up as a consumer device. So built for lay users, people without any medical background. We are allowing this interaction to happen in both online or synchronous interaction, meaning you sit with your clinician over the web doing this kind of a chat like we do right now. But in this case, Tyto can become the remote hands and eyes and ears of the clinician in your home, and they control the device. They can guide you how to do it. But you can also walk in with Tyto in an asynchronous way, which really you and the smartphone alone are conducting the exam, getting all the instructions automatically, collecting the data, and later on you're getting it, you're sharing it with a clinician for diagnosis. So both ways, a trained clinician is behind the scene, getting the data, giving you the clinical diagnosis. And we are also very unique in the fact that we are not providing our own clinician, but we are joining forces with the best of clinical groups in the country. So in the US, with Kaiser of the world and Navera and Sanford and Ochsner and, Cleveland Clinic to make sure that you're getting the best service out there. Bottom line, Tyto is being used until now. We are now about 2.5 years in the market commercially. More than 150,000 patients were examined with Tyto, very high satisfaction level and very high ability to do those exams by lay users.
I know you went to market, you just said about 2.5 years ago. I know the company is a little bit more mature than that. What did the industry look like as opposed to where it is now?
So basically, let's start with the industry background in a nutshell. So we started, as I said, about 6.5 years ago with a concept, a very innovative concept. Back then, telehealth was just starting to grow. After many years of stagnation, I would say, telehealth exists as a concept for 15 years or 20 years now with a very low traction. We started to see a real, a lift in awareness and usage in the last 5 years or so. You can see Teladoc in the market doing very well, American Well, other larger organizations. And today I would say most of the health systems in the country provide telehealth service. This is even pre-COVID-19. So the industry certainly took a huge bet and a lot of support and tailwind support for telehealth for a while now. But if you look at the industry from a step back, with all of this great growth and push, you still saw a relatively low utilization by end consumers. It was roughly below 5% as a whole in the US and globally. And this is where Tyto really comes in and really shook the industry a little bit. So when you add the missing link, I would say, of the clinical exam, when you bring this level of trust both to the providers, the clinician on the one side and the consumer on the other side, that this interaction can be much more meaningful than just a chat, you start to see much more support, much more utilization, the awareness of the value grows, and this is where we see a big change. The entire industry, it's like really the stars are aligned today to make telehealth much more approachable, much more supported by all the players in the industry, by all the entire ecosystem.
How has demand changed over the last few months? What's the impact that's having on your company?
Sure. So, across the board, I would say this is not only with Tyto. This is really, a really unique inflection point, I would say, in telehealth. Across the board, you see a huge uptick in utilization. People, switching from something which used to be a nice to have, something of a convenience to consumers, now become a necessity. People now understand that, it's a risk factor. Even put away, the COVID-19, if you're sick or not sick, just the thinking about going to a clinic with the amount of load and the amount of risk and the social distancing, you don't have any other choice. So even if you don't have any risk of COVID, but you just want to make sure that your symptoms are not related or you need to get a treatment, Tyto and telehealth becomes a much more of the only way to do it, basically. It becomes a necessity. And I think once you tested it, and with Tyto, we have a statistics of, I would say, about 75% of people who tried Tyto once are repeating users. And that's why I mentioned earlier, telehealth was before COVID about 5% utilization. Tyto from the get-go showed about 10x utilization rate. So we are showing 40, 50, sometimes 85 and 90% utilization, depending on the use case. So when now you have no choice and you have to use telehealth, you become, acquainted to that, and you are being more aware. So we expect that to grow. Obviously, it will not continue at the same peak level as now, but I think things will dramatically change afterward. It becomes a legit solution. It's a way to go. And I'm already speaking with customers, with health systems that say, even the aftershock effects of the coronavirus is that, there's going to be a lot of load later on. People expect that in the winter to restart to some level. Hospitals, they were never were place to go. You don't want to spend your time in a hospital unless you have to. Certainly not on small issues like primary care. So I think telehealth is now becoming, the way to go.
Eventually, we will come out of our homes again. We will be interacting. People will be less afraid to go to their doctor's office. But perhaps the way that we interact with the healthcare industry will be fundamentally different. Where do you see the industry going after COVID? And what are your plans for Tyto in the next few years?
So it's a great question. So the way I see the healthcare industry, changing, and COVID, I would say COVID-19 is like an acceleration to the process. It brings us maybe, a year or 2 years in advance, but the industry is going into that direction. We're dealing more and more with data. When we started, the FDA was really almost reluctant to talk about technology like Tyto at home. We were the first company who did this kind of a kit. Today, they are much more open to, AI-based analysis and decision support for people doing much more of the heavy lifting at home. So consumerization of healthcare is becoming, a fact. And the COVID really make that even much faster. So more and more services will be done from home. Certainly telehealth as a general will grow. The need for tools like Tyto will become much more evident. And now that you see that it can be done technically, more and more people will use it. We're already seeing, you asked me earlier about the growth that we see. We're now tripling our manufacturing in Q2 and in Q3 even more to meet demand. And those health systems really it's not like an episodic just to treat the corona patient. It's more as a way for them to go strategically into services, stronger services or bigger services around telehealth. In terms of Tyto specifically, we are adding as we go. We just closed another important financing round actually during the corona, and we are expanding the product offering, both in home diagnostic element. I cannot disclose too much at this point, but adding more capabilities to treat more chronic patients, as well as more conditions that will really limit the need for you to go to a clinic. So even if you are a physician thinks that you might have something and they want to do like some kind of a rapid test at home, this can be part of the service that Tyto provides, and you can get it easily, like in a day, overnight shipment, and do it automatically with the system. These are areas that we are working on, as well as obviously AI and machine learning. We harness a lot of data that we collect anonymously. We are very, very strict about HIPAA compliance and about patient not only safety but security. We work again with big organizations that really work hand in hand with us about data safety and security, but anonymously, and we are allowing the industry to learn from the data, both in levels of decision supports and alerts for clinicians and for patients, and this is where the industry is going into.
You hold the unit in front of the camera. Do you have it on you right now that you can hold up so people can see it?
Yeah, sure. This is the kit. This is Tyto, the actual device, and it comes with the add-ons So this is, the basic device has a screen, a built-in camera, sensors for light, for temperature reading, and so forth. And it's built in a modular way that you can have an add-on for, this is the stethoscope. You plug it in and it becomes a fully fledged stethoscope for heart diagnosis, lungs, stomach, and heart rate. So you can listen, clinician can listen to the sounds, and we record that as if they were doing it in a clinic. We have other add-ons for ear and nose. This is the otoscope. So you plug it in and it becomes a fully fledged, a stethoscope, a otoscope to do imaging. Again, the ear, the nose, and so forth. And we have a tongue depressor for the throat, and we can add more add-ons as we grow. Again, this is the screen. It's a touch screen with the different exams on it. So you can pick and start using the device connected to a smartphone.